two in there. I just don't know if
Okay, well, that's gone.
I'm not gonna touch that.
What's your pick?
The one down by the water fountain.
Okay, I think it'll be alright. Yeah. Yeah, don't worry. The toilet.
Take me right before the shit, though. They doing all kind of shit. I got numbers in my phone that'll never ring again. Cause a lot done sent them home and they'll never, I got numbers on my phone that'll never ring again. Cause a lot done call them home. So until we sing again, I got texts in my phone that'll never ping again. I screenshot them, so I got them. I don't want this thing to. I got numbers in my phone that'll never ring again. I got numbers in my phone that'll never ring again. Cause a lot don't call them home. So until we sing again, I got texts on my phone. They'll never ping again. Subscribe them, so I got them. I don't want this thing to end. I got numbers on my phone that'll never ring again. Cause a lot don't call them home. So we never sing again. I got texts on my phone that'll never ping again. I screenshot them, so I got them. I don't want this thing to. Sleep well, sleep well. Lately I haven't been sleeping well, sleeping well. Sleep well, sleep well. Lately I haven't been sleeping well, sleeping well. Sleep well, sleep well. Lately I haven't been sleeping well, I've been.
I'm just vibing out right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? You know, cause it's so good, right? Cause it's like, man, it's needed. You know what I mean? Gotta finish them scriptures, man. It's needed, man. It's needed. Eyes fiery, cry tears to my diary. Sometimes a Xanny bar can't help you fight back the anxiety. I go to my Lord quietly, teardrops on our faces. Teardrops on my faces, like teardrops become waterfalls by the time they reach my laces. My eyelids is like levees, but my tear ducts is like glaciers. As I contemplate creation, the salt that heals my wounds pour out my eyes is like libations. I can't stop my mind from racing. I got numbers on my phone, pictures on my phone. The day my mama died, I scrolled her texts all day long. The physical returns, but the connection still stays strong. Now I understand why you used to cry sometimes we ride down Claiborne. You just missed your mama. Now I just miss my mamas. The clothes we wear to bed at night, the sleep is just pajamas. The flesh we roam this earth and is a blessing, not a promise. I bow with those who bow to the Creator and pay homage. Sleep well. Lately I haven't been sleep well. I even hit the beach to soak my feet and skip some seashells. Sleep well, the lump inside my throat sometimes is towers like the Eiffel. Sometimes I wonder, do the trees get sad when they see leaves fell? Sleep well, the last time that I kissed you, you felt cold, but you look peaceful. I read our message thread when I get low and need a refill. Sleep well.
Sleep well, sleep well. Lady, I haven't been sleeping well, sleeping well. I got numbers in my phone that'll never ring again. Cause a lot don't call them home. So until we sing again, I got texts on my phone. They'll never ping again. Subscribe them, so I got them. I don't want this thing to end. I got numbers on my phone that'll never ring again. Cause a lot don't call them home. So we never sing again. I got texts on my phone that'll never ping again. I screenshot them, so I got them. I don't want this thing to.
mountain. There was a great longing for another even higher mountain. So deep, longing for a bigger city. After all that we've been through, I know that I will always have you from now until forever, baby. I can't imagine anything better. After all that we've been through, I know we'll
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chris. I am Charlotte's cousin, and I'm here to welcome everyone on behalf of Mike, my Uncle Brendan, my Aunt Darnella, my cousin Rebecca, and my cousin Charlotte to her celebration of life. I'm here to introduce Uncle B Moore to give a blessing, but before I do, I just wanted to say that Charlotte was very much a light in my life, and I'm sure she was a light in everyone's life. And if I could ask of anyone of anything, I would ask that everyone continue to project the light that Charlotte gave to all of us for the rest of your lives. So, Uncle B Moore with a blessing.
My name is Oliver Franklin. I first met Brendan in 1967 at Oxford University, and we've been very close friends ever since. My wife Pat, son Julian, and I spent many Christmases with Rebecca, Charlotte, Darnella, and Brendan in their Washington, D.C. home. The Hortons have an extraordinary ability to extend hospitality. And when you're in their circle of hospitality, you feel like family. You feel like you're home. I'm sure many of you here today have experienced that extraordinary hospitality. We're here today to celebrate the life of an extraordinary woman, to hear from her friends, college mates, and colleagues, to learn more about her influences, about the causes she celebrated, and the love she gave to us and received from us. We're also here to mourn her loss and support Rebecca, Darnella, Brendan, and her family members across the United States, England, and France. It's very difficult to lose a child and a sister, but your being here in person and digitally will help them and us in our mourning. The book of Psalms those beautiful poems written to help us come to grips with life's daily struggles, contains many insights. But King David, who composed Psalm 90, which reflects on the conundrum of life and powerfully gives a word of hope to the existence and purpose of human life, comes to mind today. For me, it is verse 12 that has meaning. Teach us to number our days, that we may get us a heart of wisdom. Teach us to number our days, that we may get us a heart of wisdom. Charlotte lived her life fully, every hour of every day, every month, and every year. And she was growing in her wisdom. Let us be thankful for her life, and praise be to God.
Hello, my name is Paul. Charlotte was my cousin, and though we didn't spend a lot of time together, as you guys have heard, she always inspired you to do what you wanted to do, and with the greatest intention. So I'm going to read a few things for her. From Tina Thurmer, teacher at Washington International School. One of my favorite student alumni for her benevolent personality and charm and intelligence and just Charlotte-ness. The second one, from Edison Osorio Zapata, glassblowing artist and teacher. As a glass student, she was excellent. Glassblowing is very difficult. Usually OCD egomaniacs, weirdos get into it. Her case is not like that, obviously. She has a powerful, determined calmness to her. It's in her cellular fibers. The best glassblowers have this naturally. She was one of them. It's about attitude, a calm, positive, determined attitude. She has it. I was not a natural. I had to work at it. It was very much a physical and emotional therapy for me. I learned from her. I don't think I ever told her that.
Hi, my name is Rex Williams. I met Charlotte in 2011 when I met my wife, Emily. I've been friends with Charlotte ever since. I'm going to be reading a statement from her roommate, Alexa Caballon, who went to NYU with Charlotte and spent time in the Czech Republic with Charlotte. Char and I became roommates and lived together for 3 years, from when we were 21 to 24. Together, we were able to cultivate a community around us that made our house feel like a place people wanted to gather. We celebrated our birthdays, our friends' birthdays, we had barbecues for Memorial Day and Labor Day, and took advantage of pretty much any reason to celebrate. Friends crashed at our place, songs were written, $1 vinyl was collected, and our living room and kitchen became rehearsal and performance space. One year, Charlotte found out about this oyster CSA from Rhode Island coming to Manhattan around Thanksgiving. We decided to order 100 oysters, picked them up from this random floor in a building in the financial district, and had an oyster fest the day before Thanksgiving. We made oyster stuffing, oyster shooters, just ate oysters raw, and shucked them ourselves with about 8 other friends. We also had a dumplings of the world party where we basically realized almost anything could be a dumpling. I treasure all of the hilarious and fun memories we shared coming of age together here in Brooklyn. I just want to add a personal note. I was there for Oyster Fest, and I'm really going to treasure Charlotte that night as the perfect host and laughing the loudest there, too.
My name is Emily. I was Charlotte's freshman year roommate and her friend for many years beyond that. I'm going to read something written by Hannah Mabry, who was also one of Charlotte's NYU roommates. Charlotte was my first real friend at NYU. We were in MLK Scholars together. We really bonded during that freshman year trip to Morocco and lived together that first summer. We both got jobs at Charbonnel and Walker, that crazy chocolate shop in Saks Fifth Avenue. And it's funny to think that's really where she learned to use an espresso machine and make coffee drinks. She threw me a surprise birthday party for my 20th birthday. I love Christmas, and she filled my friend's apartment with Christmas trees and gathered all our friends together. She spent spring break with me when I had surgery for thyroid cancer. She slept in the hospital with me and my mother, which as an adult, I can't even believe she did. What 19-year-old spends their spring break in a hospital? I don't even remember the discussion surrounding that. It was happening and it was seamless. And that, of course, she was going to come and be there with me and make that experience so much better for my entire family. Even my own father didn't sleep in the hospital. Then we moved into that apartment on Fifth Street together after she returned from Prague with Emily and Jesse and various temporary guests right above a burger shop, so our entire living room always smelled like burgers. The perfect apartment for Charlotte. I taught her to ride that first purple bicycle on the roof of our building. Probably not the best place to learn, but we made it work. She introduced me to Housing Works, where my sister would eventually get married. Of course, Charlotte came. She was in my wedding. One of the first days I was hanging out with her, we walked all over the village and Soho, and we finally went to one of the NYU dorms to meet a friend. As we were sitting there, she nonchalantly pulled out an entire ham sandwich from her bag and started to eat it. She was such a true soul, so unapologetically herself. She taught all of us to live like that, to be real and confident and not bullshit around. She introduced me to most of the friends I still have from NYU, including Zaina, who introduced me to my husband. I can't tell you how many people I spoke to over the last couple weeks, and everyone says the same thing. She was my best friend. She was the coolest person I'd ever met. She changed my life. She did more in 34 years than most people do in their lifetime, and maybe that can be some solace for us all.
My name is Kathy. In the last few weeks, as Darnella was thinking about Charlotte, she began to make some notes, and she shared them with Brendan and Rebecca. And they added some things, and some themes began to emerge, and some cadences and a tone. And they began to think of it as a song, Charlotte's song. I'm honored that they've entrusted me with the task of reading Charlotte's song. How do you sum up the stories of someone who lived about 8 lifetimes by the age of 34? Simply, you can't. But let us share a few of the steps along the way. Charlotte was born August 16th, 4 days after her due date. Her black hair soon fell out to be replaced by fine spun gold. Her eyes looked deep blue one day, then green hazel the next, until they settled firmly into reflections of a tropical mangrove. Regular in her habits, she'd come to the bedside chirping, "The sun is awake." At night, there was no struggle as she yawned and announced, "It's bedtime." Early on, we observed those fine motor skills as she delighted in filling lined paper with tiny cross-hatching strokes, as though orchestrating row after row of tin soldiers. A creative thinker, Her insistence at about 4 on being a whale for Halloween meant wrangling coat hangers for armature, stretching yards of gray jersey over the frame, filling a 3-foot tail and side flippers with clouds of stuffing, and ensuring that she could see clearly out of a hole in the black markered mouth. But not all her ideas were outside the box. She was a huge fan of She-Ra and Princess Jasmine. Her mischievous side was epitomized in the slightly snarky attitude of Bad Smaroo, the spiky-haired penguin character from the Hello Kitty universe, or Pink Panther, whose debonair insouciance embodied her self-assured ease. At camp, like other kids, she canoed, played tennis, tended campfires, and in her words, had fun without your parents. We began cooking when she was 12. First came a basic white sauce, bechamel, a quick tomato sauce, then the slow but subtle development of a brown sauce. Both she and Rebecca easily surpassed our Epicurean sensibilities. They were more discerning, inventive, knowledgeable, and adventurous in the kitchen. With her delight in precision, Charlotte's lattice pies and handcrafted ravioli were flawless. Her sophisticated palate detected the least suspicion of mold, especially in coffee. In her Williamsburg flat, she concocted meals for the Brooklyn-based Mason Jar Exchange, weekly fashioning 6 identical meals that would fit in a jar. She traded them on Mondays so that each participant came away with a different dinner for each night of the week, save Sunday. A lifer at the Washington International School, she started in half-day nursery and whizzed through the curriculum with her own brand of independence, ease, and fiery intelligence, surprising us by enjoying softball in middle school, and in her final year, co-editing the WIS yearbook. Her senior project was a solo effort, orchestrating a battle of local punk rock bands, for which she raised funds, secured a venue, advertised the event, auditioned the bands, established a panel of judges, and obtained a series of prizes for the various winners. And yes, she stood at the door taking in the money that would go to a litany of previously announced charities. College acceptances came from Swarthmore, the University of Pennsylvania, USC, and Wellesley, along with offers of academic scholarships from Tulane and NYU. For some reason, Northeastern put her on the wait list. In New York, Charlotte soaked up the city. In the interdisciplinary cohort of 45 freshmen that comprised the Martin Luther King Scholars for 2005, she tackled academics and the required community service that had been central to her international baccalaureate program at WIS. Her junior semester abroad found her reveling in the delights of Prague. From the NYU campus located in the shadow of the astronomical clock dominating the old town square, and on to her building block dorm near the iconic Ziskov television tower, replete with climbing babies. Charlotte's sense of irony bloomed, along with her wry curatorial skills and eclectic aesthetic. Back in Manhattan, each semester she scored the 3.5 GPA required for maintaining her MLK scholarship. Among the volunteer work she continued in New York, she was especially drawn to the thrum of Housing Works Bookstore Coffee House, a key component of the largest community-based foundation in the city and a signal event venue in Soho. Upon graduating, she was hired to continue coordinating the weekly work schedules of 250 volunteers, stepping into any number of jobs when volunteers couldn't cover their slot. Such skills led her to work on many events there, including book and poetry readings, concerts and talks, as well as a stream of weddings themed with the store's elegant bookshelves and galleries as backdrop. Luminaries like the famed violinist Hilary Hahn frequently held intimate evenings there, and Charlotte was invited to parties where folk like Anne Hathaway and Bjork hung out. Curiosity was likely a bigger factor than restlessness in Charlotte's travels and adventures. When she was 17, we traveled to the Maura River to see the wildebeests with a Maasai guide. She wasn't shy in asserting that she wanted to see a lion kill. Early one morning, we did. The sound of the lion's claws on the back of the laggard old cow in the hollow, ambushed by two males, is forever etched in our memories. Such vivid experiences left their mark. After an internship at the Museum of Modern Art, Charlotte knew that desk work wasn't for her. She'd go on to engage in hands-on work in fast-paced settings. She loved working with people. A team player, she tended the counter at the Chocolatier Chabanel and Walker in Saks Fifth Avenue, and helped with the service and catering at Chow for Now. Continued to study with and eventually becoming an assistant to her teacher in his glass-blowing studios. Charlotte's relations always seemed easy as she juggled interests as diverse as assistant to a food photographer, a clipboard girl for agents handling young and emerging designers for spring and fall fashion runway shows, and as the protege to the producer for the initial BBC America production of Doctor Who. Acquiring new skills and reinventing herself became routine. Her love of bicycling grew from learning to ride a cast-off bike on the rooftop of her Alphabet City apartment building. When she moved to Berlin, she started as a barista at the world-renowned cafe, The Barn. From there, she heard that American-based Cafe Imports was looking to open an office in Berlin. She began as its second local hire. 4 years later, she was running the office and trading Euro futures early each morning. It was in Berlin that she tried bouldering, a skill that found greater expression when she moved on to Los Angeles and could pursue rock climbing at places like Bishop and Joshua Tree. In LA, she took a job for the holidays, showcasing the signature artisanal creations of Heath Ceramics. 3 years later, she would have been promoted to floor manager the morning after the car crash. In that brief span, she built on introductory classes she'd started in Berlin, honing her own ceramics skills. Working with a cast-off potting wheel, she crafted bowls, vases, mugs, teapots, and miniature urns. From time to time, she assisted a florist, creating beautiful arrangements for special occasions. Charlotte was kind, but she also had fun and loved to laugh. Her prowess with crossword puzzles reflected an affinity for both low and highbrow punning. Everywhere she went, she sought the sunny side of the street. Although New York offered culture and excitement, Berlin offered a gateway to something new and different. For many years, she'd wanted to learn German, and against the backdrop of a city both honoring its past and forging a bold future, she fashioned a day-to-day rhythm that suited her until the dreary winter months took their toll. With friends in San Diego and LA and a penchant for beaches, she spent time in each, finally settling on the cultural swirl and sun-drenched days of Los Angeles. It was there that she further developed her climbing skills, taking advantage of the climate and the mountainous areas just a short drive away. It was through climbing that she met Mike. In Mike, Charlotte found not only a trusted climbing partner, but someone who'd also traveled the world, lived abroad, explored different career paths, lived sparely, enjoyed cooking, eating, and camping in the great outdoors, someone both smart and gentle. Now, Tragedy marks the end of the 2 years they spent being climbing partners, riding out the pandemic and the long work hiatus, then even enduring COVID itself, largely in each other's company. The selfie taken on their climbing and birdwatching trip to the Black Mountains just 10 days before the accident shows them smiling, seemingly beaming gladness. Throughout her life, Charlotte gave generously, never stinting wait staff or failing to put money in the pot for service providers of all stripes. She gave her time to NYU events, art happenings, as stage director for aspiring playwrights and musical accompaniment for performances orchestrated by her friends. Housing Works, the ACLU, the Scruffy Street Dog Collection, Planned Parenthood, the Native Arts and Culture Foundation, and the People's Pottery Project all benefited from her time and resources. Having marked donor on her California driver's license, she ensured that her organs would help save others. Charlotte's friends are myriad. The great swell of love for her has been as warm and wide as the Southern Pacific. As we gather to honor her in New York, Los Angeles, Washington, Edinburgh, London, and Berlin, we look to close the series of gatherings in her honor sometime next year by scattering her ashes on our tribal lands among the Muskogee Nation in Oklahoma, and finally at her beloved Joshua Tree. We may consider the lowly carabiner as a metaphor for Charlotte. It is compact and clever in its design. It's lightweight, practical, and strong. At times, it is the lifeline, the safeguard that tethers us securely to solid ground. Basic, yet essential, it answers our desire to be grounded, yet linked. Just a word about the card. It is a memento of Charlotte and her 1,000-watt smile. On the back, there's an acknowledgement of her role in bringing us together and links for sharing your stories, memories, photos, and music. There's also an invitation to contribute to some of the causes she supported or others of your choosing. The inside is intentionally blank. The void is a reminder of the failure of words, the depth of our loss, and the informality of this gathering. It's also an invitation, a blank slate on which we'll craft the actions that her life and legacy inspire us to embrace in the days, weeks, and years to come. It's the space we'll need to carry her song.
may have lipstick all over my face. A little light relief after that video. Hello, I'm Rebecca, Charlotte's sister, Brendan and Darnella's daughter. Oh, I lift it up a bit. I'm Rebecca, Charlotte's sister, and Brendan and Darnella's daughter. I'm going to start us off with a couple of poems, but before I get started, I just wanted to say a few things. Thank you to those of you who have so graciously tolerated me stalking you on social media. I'm glad you can be here. Thank you also to Charlotte's Los Angeles community who've been so very welcoming to us. They even let me pinch a bit of bougainvillea from Charlotte's garden. So thanks to you, Hannah. So preface to the poem I'm about to read, our parents, Brendan and Darnella, had always described Charlotte and I as the sun. Charlotte was the sun, that 1,000-watt smile, and I the moon. So imagine my delight when my very dear friend in Scotland, Brenda, her dad, who had never even met Charlotte, wrote the poem I'm about to share when Charlotte died, which we read to her when she was in the hospital. It's only we. So thank you, Dominic Rowan, for writing this. Charlotte leaves a desert of sorrow and a lake of tears. Still, the sun will rise and the moon will follow. He also shared a wee note with it to say he thought of the sun for courage and the moon for wisdom and peace. I realized when he shared this with me that the moon has the great privilege of reflecting the light of the sun. I will continue to try and do so, and can see that you all are also beautiful reflections of her light. Finally, Charlotte and I have always been proud of our mixed Black, Native American, and white British heritage, though I admit sometimes it can be tricky. Thankfully, the joyous poem you're about to hear from Charlotte's very good friend Tana always reminded us to feel comfortable and proud of being just exactly who we are.
Hello. My name's Tana. I met Charlotte a few years ago at work. We quickly went from coworkers to friends. We hit the ground running, talking about future business endeavors, but more importantly, to good food, good wine, and always good times with that one. I'll be reading, excuse my shaky voice, I'll be reading Colors by Shel Silverstein. My skin is kind of sort of brownish, pinkish, yellowish white. My eyes grayish, bluish, green. But I'm told they're orange in the night. My hair reddish, brownish, blonde, but it's silver when it's wet. And all the colors I am inside have not been invented yet. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I hope I can do this. Thank you for coming to join this truly poignant, multicultural, international ceremony to celebrate the life of our beloved daughter, Charlotte. I want also to say, to welcome those who are joining us by video conference or by video link because they can't be with us, my family in the UK, and our friends, nos amis français, die Freunde von Charlotte in Berlin, and indeed some colleagues from Morocco, shukran bzaf, as they say. I want to also thank Rebecca, who has organized this ceremony, and all of you who helped her in so doing. It would not have been possible without you. I also want to single out my friend Oliver, my dear friend Oliver, who is the son of a pastor. And when I first arrived in the States in 1968, he took me to his father's church in Baltimore, and his father said to me, "Brendan, stand up, say something." As only a black pastor can do. I knew not what to say, but I have to say, I never dreamed that I would have to reply to his father in a ceremony such as today's. I'm sorry, I'm having difficulty reading because of my glasses. For us, that's to say Donella and I, today's company is a taste of the world to come, one which we have striven to create through our daughters, and one which we hope the future generation, all of you younger people, will strive to further develop. This is truly a bittersweet moment for our family, a watershed indeed. Nothing will ever be the same again. Donella and I nurtured Charlotte as Rebecca till she left for NYU at 18, though she said that she was ready to leave home at 13. During the next 15 years, like any child, as the parents here know, she grew away from us as she created her own life in New York City, Berlin, and finally Los Angeles, which was where she clearly wanted to settle and where she found her beloved Mike, whose loss too is immense, and whom we must not forget. And yet recently, she had begun to draw closer to us again, even more so in the last year. We were beginning to look forward to a new phase of family life. The four of us, me, Donella, Rebecca, and Charlotte. Rebecca lives in Edinburgh. The parents here must know what I mean about families coming together again as their children mature. And yet all of this future was snuffed out in a nanosecond for us, for her, for us, and for her friends as well. It is really very painful, very painful. It could easily be embittering, yet bitter we must not be. Rather, we must focus on the sweeter side of this moment, where we are fortunate to be surrounded, or to be assembled together, with her next of kin and her friends, her extended family, so to speak. Let us hope, therefore, that we can remain in touch in the years to come, necessarily episodically sometimes, because we grow apart. We see each other infrequently. To remember her beauty, her grace, and her commitment to a better world for all. So thank you all again for coming. Grand merci à ceux en France et en Suisse et au Maroc qui ont assisté avec nous. Vielen Dank an die Freunde von Charlotte in Berlin. Et shukran bezef again to my friends and our friends in Morocco.
Hi, my name is Hannah. I was Charlotte's roommate here in Los Angeles. First, we were COVID quarantine roommates, and then we decided to make it official after that. I just have a quick story to share because, as Kathy said through Darnella's words, there are no right words. But I think this story really sums up who Charlotte was. When we first moved into our apartment, which you saw in the birthday book, that's our backyard, that she put together, I'm almost embarrassed to say, almost entirely by herself. But it brought her such joy, I just couldn't stand in the way of it. And I just reaped the benefits of it. But before that came together, when our apartment in Atwater was just boxes that hadn't been unpacked, we were kind of coming up with a plan of attack of where to even begin. I'm sure you know that feeling as well. So we just started small, this small box in the kitchen, and we discovered all of our refrigerator magnets. And we were unpacking them and kind of coming up with the arrangement, because if you knew Charlotte, or I always would say this is because she's a Leo, aesthetics were very important, and so was intention. So it couldn't just be random, thrown up there. We were coming up with a map of the magnets. And the first magnet I unwrapped was this little ceramic square that she had got in Red Rock when she and Mike camped there. And she was like telling me the story, and I was like, that's so sweet, so beautiful. I think that should be the first magnet. I put it on the fridge. It immediately slides and drops to the ground because I had put it on the non-magnetic side of the fridge and breaks. And I am mortified after this really sweet story. And I am so embarrassed. I hate if I am responsible for the destruction of anyone's property, even as small as a magnet. And I was like, I'm so sorry, immediately apologizing, thinking she must be regretting moving in with such a clumsy oaf that I am. And her reaction was she just burst into laughter. Because that's who Charlotte was. She was so full of light and love, knew when to laugh. I want to think it's also because she didn't want me to feel bad, but it did feel genuine. And I have the magnet here with me today, just this top corner. And it still sits on our fridge.
It is perfectly imperfect. And I'll always think of Charlotte when I see it. And I'll continue to add to the magnets on the fridge in her honor. But I'll always at least have this to remember her by, and I'm so grateful for that moment, as embarrassing as it was in that brutal first second. But thank you.
Did anyone else want to give any words?
Good afternoon. I'm Darnella's sister and Charlotte's aunt. Thank you for all being here. We are, of course, crushed. Our hearts are broken. Charlotte was a light, and she was a light that will never go out of our hearts. We love her. We will always love her. Our memories of her are all wonderful, wonderful. And Charlotte, teeny, weeny, beanie, Auntie Bevy loves you.
Greetings. I'm Michelle. I'm a part of this clan. And my husband and I always took our 3 children to Washington, D.C. to stay for free at my sister's house and enjoy your tax dollars at the Smithsonian. So one memory I have was, I think Charlotte had a purple wig for some reason. It was long with bangs. And before I knew anything, they had put it on my son Paul and taken photographs of it. And it was wonderful now because Paul's hair has been every color, and Charlotte must have known that was his destiny. We have buried our mother this year, and this has taken a toll on our hearts, our souls, and Charlotte and her family were in Detroit, and we got to spend a lot of time together. And I got to take her to the liquor store on Jefferson so that she could buy some Faygo pop and some hot chips or something. You know, traditional Detroit cuisine. So when she was going in, I said, Charlotte, just make sure nobody touches you. And she looked at me and she said, why? I said, because it's not a good thing. And so that frightened her a little bit. But that day we got to go to Belle Isle. We got to go to the Riverwalk. Detroit is really got a lot of things to offer now. And I remember we were having some dispute or something was going on between my car and my sister's car. And I remember Charlotte getting in my car saying, I love my family. I love my family. I love my family.
Good afternoon. My name is Cheryl. I'm one of the sisters, and of course, there are no words, but there'll be memories forever. And Charlotte just spent 3 nights with my husband and I, Joe, in Phoenix. She had a plane ticket to come and see her grandmother on Monday. Well, her grandmother died on Sunday. And she said, I'm still coming, Aunt Cheryl. I'm going to help you out, because my mother lived with me in Phoenix. And she says, I'm going to come anyway, and we're going to just be together. And I was so thankful that she came. I don't know what I would have done without her. She just helped me immensely. And I said, Charlotte, do you like crab cakes? And she says, oh, yes. So I got the crab meat. I had the recipe, and we put them together. We had a fabulous salad, and I'll never eat crab without thinking about her. We ate them so much that night. She enjoyed them so much. And the one thing, Joe and I are so blessed that she's just spent time with us, just getting to know her old aunt and uncle, you know, and yeah. And I had a wind chime glass with a roadrunner and cactuses, and one of them fell. It didn't break, but it fell. And I go, oh, I'll never get that strung up again. And she says, Auntie Cheryl, I love to do things like that. I said, who in the world comes to your house and says, I love to do something like that? And she strung it up, and I'll never not look at that and think of Charlotte. And we also had a little problem with our trash container or compactor.
I don't know how to fix nothing, right?
And so Joe couldn't get down. Charlotte was like, I'll take care of that. Got right down on the floor, you know, and took the tools and screwed the thing in, and it's been perfect ever since. So it's just been heartbreaking. We were just, like Brendan said, we were just going to start a whole new West Coast kind of thing, you know, and she was going to bring Mike over, and she was going to, you know, hang out with us, and we'll just never forget Charlotte, the sweetest, most generous, most intelligent, most loving niece. Did you want to say anything, Joe?
I wasn't going to say anything because I'm a man of many words, and people that know me know that like Mary said, Joe, you could talk a hungry dog off a meat truck. So you know that's how much I can talk. And that wasn't too long ago. But I just want to say that everyone in this room is special. If you knew her, she was special. And I put on Facebook, if you want to hear the song, my name is Joseph Delgado, a song called On the Wings of Angels. And if you ever had an angel in your life, you met Charlotte.
Hi, I'm Ariana, one of Charlotte's old friends from NYU. Just listening to how much love Charlotte gave to everyone in the room, it's so moving, and there's a couple of memories I just keep thinking about. Like freshman year, she finished her finals before I did, and I was still studying, and she burst into my room and said, "We need to dye my hair blonde." And so I followed her into the bathroom, and with the disclaimer that I had never did anything like this before, and we bleached her hair until it was orange. And it wasn't really blonde, but she thought it was good enough. And one of the things that Charlotte taught me in life is not to wait I think she lived life so fully. Just going to Berlin and deciding she wanted to be there, leaving when it was time, and her style of living and loving people is just so beautiful. So, yeah, and I keep thinking too about the time when you both, Darnella and Brendan, came for Thanksgiving at my house. And she said, yeah, it's always been a confusing holiday because my mom is Native American and my dad is British. I'm never really sure what to do during Thanksgiving. But thank you, Charlotte. Thank you for being such a special friend. Yeah, love to all of you.
My name is Annie. I am Darnella's aunt, which makes Charlotte my great niece. And when I got the call that Charlotte was in an accident, I went to the hospital and I'm just like, I know she's here. And they said, well, we can't have any family. And I said, I'm the only family and I cannot leave her till her parents get here. So I sat at Cedars-Sinai for probably 6 hours until Darnella and her husband got there. Then I said, Darnella, I'm so sorry. It will take me another 2 to 3 hours to drive home because I live in Riverside County. And I said, but I'll be back tomorrow morning at 7. And at that time, she was like, no, you don't have to come back. I said, yes, I have to come back. The good thing was, while Charlotte was at Cedars, she had the best care because I knew everybody that was taking care of Charlotte. I'm in the medical field, so I knew everybody, and I kind of bird dog everything to make sure that Charlotte was taken care of. Indirectly. But I just felt that Charlotte didn't want to be there by herself, and she needed her family there. So I stood with her until her parents got there. My other sister, Arlene, came. They couldn't imagine me, being as young as I am, could be Charlotte's great aunt.
For what it's worth, I think you all did excellently. Charlotte is my cool older cousin. I practiced this so I wouldn't cry, but The Piece of Wild Things by Wendell Berry. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things, who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free. I wanted to say something about Charlotte. I got the opportunity to visit her in Berlin when she was in peak coffee, you know. Heavy coffee. I think when I arrived, I met her at work. And of course, she had made some reservations to some awesome restaurant and assembled some motley crew of transplants that all had very interesting stories about how they came to meet each other. And though she loved beer, she introduced me to natural wines. And I remember her fondly, and I always looked up to her. She set a beautiful example, so I love you, Charlotte.
Well, that was very, very, very moving and interesting, and I really enjoyed hearing all the reflections and the stories. Charlotte was an extraordinary woman, and I learned some new things about her as well. I'd like to end this service with a prayer. Great Spirit, we praise you for the great company of all those who have finished their course of labor and faith and now rest from their labor. We praise you for those dear to us, whom we name in our hearts before you. Especially, we praise you for our dear sister and daughter, Charlotte, whom you have graciously received in your presence. To all of these, grant your peace. Let perpetual light shine upon them, and help us so to believe what we have not seen, that your presence may lead us through our years and bring us at last into the joy of your home, not made with hands, eternals in heaven. Amen. On behalf of the Horton family, I want to thank you for attending this service. Please keep them in your prayers and offer the great circle of comfort that will be needed in these times. I ask you to go in peace and keep Charlotte alive in your hearts. She will always be with us. Be safe wherever you're going. God bless you all.
Hey, get him a little more foot out there in the PA. So we wanted to feel like a heartbeat. Hey, fellas up here, listen at the foot. Right here. Hey, come here, Glenn. Come here, Glenn. I want just Glenn to sing this song right here. Everybody else be cool. Y'all put your hands together.
Swing down, I'm gonna ride. Swing down, I'm gonna ride. Right before you guys were moving. Swing down, I'm gonna ride. Swing down, I'm gonna
the mothership. I can feel the presence of the mothership. I can feel the mothership is somewhere around. Feels like the mothership is getting ready to come down. Swing down. I wanna ride. Swing down.